Good day everyone. So in the final coverage, there are 7 topics. The first one is Rizal, talisman for national stupidity. Second, Claro M. Recto and the Rizal Bill, the Rizal Law and its predicament. The third one is Noli Me Tangere. The fourth one is El Filibusterismo. The fifth is the Vision of Father Rodriguez. The sixth is By Telephone. And the last one is Rizal's letter to Father Pastos. So in the first topic, which is Rizal, talisman for national stupidity. This topic will be discussed through mirroring mode. These topics are relatable to myself in both negative and positive ways, such as being used and as myself for taking advantage of things, as well as how I feel about this topic that I've read. Indeed, Rizal is a subject for entrepreneurial means for people because of his image and popularity and works. And people took advantage of that in a way of copying and using him for their personal reasons and gains. I can agree and I understand that being used is inevitable for a person like Rizal, who is popular and whose works are really commendable. But what I do not support is that they use it for unpleasant ways, like politicians using his quotes and sayings for political related things and using it for white lies. Not everyone is like that though. So as a person working for things so hard and seeing people use it for their own personal gains is really frustrating, a lot more infuriating in bigger picture. Though I cannot fully come clean because sometimes when I slack off, I copy other people's work like in assignments and add a little bit of my own ideas without giving my full heart and effort into it. I can only come clean on the part and justifying it by my laziness and other personal reasons. On the other hand, I can also understand how it feels like being used just like Rizal. Sometimes it is hard to speak for yourself, especially if those people are close to you and you yourself is a pushover. But the thing I learned here is that there's always eyes on you in whatever you do. People will take advantage of you, copy you, get insecure because of the things that they can't have that you can. And that is inevitable in life. And sometimes you can force people to not do that. The best thing you can do is you do you. You do what you want and not be bothered by people like them. And always remember that being authentic, genuine, and being true to yourself is what matters most. The next topic is Claro M. Recto and the Rizal Bill, the Rizal Law, RA 1425, and its predicament, which will be discussed through microscoping. And the word that affected and caught my attention is Rizal's novels are harmful to Catholicism. The Rizal Bill was proposed by Claro M. Recto to make Rizal's novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo as a mandatory part of our school curriculum, but was opposed by the Catholic hierarchy for a reason that it will stir up the Catholic learning and schools. But for me, I think they're just afraid that people will know the dark side of Catholic churches, which is stated and portrayed in the novels. Their wrongdoings, immorality, and all the bad stuff. I can understand why they go against the bill since power is more important before. But looking at both sides, I can see people fighting over power. What I don't really understand is that how does the novel stir up people's salvation and faith? If people really do believe in God and has deep faith, then it is up to them as to how they will take the novel. And given that the fact that not everyone is right, even the churches and devoted people, only the guilty of bad deeds will be afraid to be mirrored or portrayed in a book. Rizal's works should be honored and I do not disagree making it as a part of our school curriculum. And I also do not go against if they won't make it part of it. The topic is just interesting because it really tests people, how people deal with it. For me, it is hard to defy the Catholic because it is their beliefs and their right to go against if they think it will stir up their religion, but I just don't think that it is harmful. A work is a work. People should just focus on their beliefs and make their faith and salvation powerful however they want to. There is nothing to be afraid of if you're doing the right thing and not stepping in other people's beliefs. Also, people should not judge people who doesn't have beliefs. Just be fair on everyone whether they oppose to something or not, and to not force what you know to them and just agree to disagree. The third topic is the novel Noli Me Tangere, which will be discussed through microscoping, because I read something that implies a societal issue. The societal issue that stuck and affected me that this reflection will discuss is about the education, and the claim of Rizal that only through education could a country be saved from domination. The societal implication is that the religion is oppressive to the education of people, and contrasting how it was in Rizal's time, specifically in the novel Noli Me Tangere, and to what our education looks like now in the modern era. In the novel, education is one of the societal issues in conflict being discussed, as Rizal claimed that only through education could the country be saved from domination. He meant that through education we can go forward having a better life, as being educated is one of the reasons why people have progressed in life and in the society. But during those times, education was not as accessible compared to the modern era. Before, you have to be from a wealthy family so you can easily go to school. In addition, schools were mostly run by the churches, the friars. And in the novel, we all know how Spaniards treat the Filipinos, especially the issues of abuse in the churches by the friars. And Filipinos, by then, didn't know how important education was. In contrary, in this generation, almost everyone have access in education, as some of it are free. People are aware of what our society, government, politics, most of the people are now woke, and they engage more in the discussions about history, even the younger ones. Simply means that as the time passes by, we are also advancing our learning, and we keep on digging up the truth and facts and understand and decipher it, then use it to figure our ways or things to make better and progressive education or other societal issues that needs to be dealt, and to have freedom and independence. So as a student and as a youth, I learned and understood how important education. If not in the conventional way of succeeding life, you must be someone who can strive in the unconventional, such as business or things that doesn't totally need a degree or skillful enough to land on a good job without graduating from universities, since most of the jobs now requires a degree. But despite that, I firmly believe that education is really powerful and a great triumph and a great opportunity given to people to pass through the bumpy path to success. And the 4 years struggle, triumph, tears, and sweat in college will be worth it, as it is a great way to find a good work which will give us a good life and a contribution to the society and to other people. Because I have a lot of things I want to do to help other people, especially the young ones from afar that couldn't access education. And my vision, mission, and goal for that is what I truly look forward and manifest to happen. I am still a student, and though I took this course, my childhood dream of becoming a teacher and teaching kids is still placed somewhere in my heart. And someday I will be able to accomplish one of the things that is so important to me and could be a great help to people, especially the kids. The fourth topic is the novel El Filibusterismo, and I will be discussing it in telescoping mode again. So El Filibusterismo is a continuation of Noli Me Tangere, and the societal issues that caught my attention is the corruption in government and politics in our country. It affects me as a youth, as I am part of the society, and whatever is happening in the government also affects the people. So in this novel, Ibarra changed his identity to a wealthy jeweler named Simon. He escaped from the soldiers in disguise as a new person to carry out his plans. He even befriended some Spanish officials to have a connection. always say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. He did all that for revenge. So in our present situation where corrupt officials in the politics and government, it is really hard to trust anyone or anything that people say. It is hard to take them down, especially if you're just a mere normal person who has no resources and connection. So even though if you want a change in our society, government, and overall the country, it is indeed difficult to express what we want if there's people who will shut us up. So a kind of like what Ibarra did. Needless to say that he's intelligent, he never stopped doing what is right and proceeded with his plans. It is a good principle, especially if the goal is for the whole Filipino people and the future generation. So as a youth, I am saddened by the fact that over a century, though Rizal's legacy is still living in this era, some bad part of it is also still happening, like the corruption. Rizal said that kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan, which sometimes makes me think if there will ever be unity in this country, in this world. It is hard to be as one if each individual has their own beliefs, opinions, and perspective on things. Even more harder that when the people learn more, at some point, it feels like everyone's smart, everyone knows it all, and it just gets really chaotic. I hope that corruption will be stopped, even though I sometimes feel hopeless about this societal issue. But just like Rizal, I will try to keep my tiny hope lighting and believe that someday things will get better. The sixth topic is the vision of Father Rodriguez, which will be discussed through microscoping. The further phrase that caught my attention is the criticism of saint to priests' actions and beliefs opposing the priesthood. So, the vision of Father Rodriguez is a satire conversation between Saint Augustine and the Augustinian priest Friar Jose Rodriguez. The Saint Augustine criticizes the priest on his beliefs and actions which oppose the priesthood. He also reveals that the priest's abusive actions performed using the Catholic Church's name to punish him. Saint Augustine attacks his stubbornness combined with stupidity through writing so that the world will laugh. In our society, a lot of people are being hypocrite in many things, assuming they are this and that, but they're actually not, especially in this topic, which is Father Rodriguez claiming in his beliefs but is opposing the priesthood. And that is not a good example of a priest, because I believe that the best teacher is a word aligned with your action. If people see him contradicting, people might think that it's okay to do that because he's even doing it, even if he's a priest, when he should be someone people would trust. But the good thing is that even if there are people who do wrong things, there are also people who do not turn a blind eye on it but criticize us, just like what Saint Augustine did to Father Rodriguez. In our society, I think that it is important to have people like him, someone who sees the wrong in other people and criticizes them, because if we keep being ignorant, bad people will keep doing what they're doing as if it's okay. I learned that people like this exist. Sometimes it is you without being aware. But for me, I think being both person is a good thing. If you're a person who's somehow a hypocrite, at least reflect on your actions and criticize yourself in a good way so that you'll be aware of everything that you did. I think it is good to criticize yourself because sometimes we can't accept what other people say about us. But if we know it ourselves, it will be easier because we know what we did, and it will be hard to ignore it, or just by simply being aware of our doings. Eighth topic is by telephone, which will be discussed through microscoping. So by telephone or por telefono is another satirical work of Rizal, which he uses the Dimas Alang pen name to ridicule the Father Font and the Friar of San Agustine's conversation through the telephone. This topic will be discussed through the microscoping mode. The word that struck me is hypocrisy of the two friars. It implies the societal injustice of the friars because of their bad plans for the country. In the satirical work of Rizal, the two friars had a conversation through the telephone talking about their injustices using the church. In our society now, some of the people uses their religion to act and put on a facade of being a kind and moral people. But some people or follower of the church and God is not always right because behind the facade is a dark place of injustice, abuse, and hypocrisy. Being greedy is what makes the people do something bad, and that's what the friars did when they must have been a good example to the Filipinos by following what they preach, not contradicting what they believe in. I think that greed is so evil because it changes a person, and by that, it can affect the other people as well, especially in putting a stain into the churches and friars. And now that in this generation, a lot of people are starting to wake up from the reality and the truth, we are being skeptical to find out the truth and reveal it to the world. Which I am glad because Rizal's work is one way of low-key teaching the people to speak out what they know is true. The last topic is Rizal's letter to Father Pastels. So I will be discussing this topic through mirroring mode as I see his insights about self-esteem in myself as well. Rizal wrote a letter to Father Pastels in June 1893 to tell him about all his thoughts and ideas about God, judgment, and self-esteem. A lot more. But the most part that I can relate to is self-esteem. As I grew up having a really low confidence, and even up to now I still have that low level of self-esteem. Rizal said that he wished that God had given him a self-esteem, but even if not, he still understood that God has planned about it. He's preserving what's best for us, and Rizal think that self-esteem is a really worthy trait of a person that God has given. He implied that having self-esteem is like having a power that makes you stand up and be confident. And having self-esteem is great because no one can look down on you. No one will be able to tear you up, and if there's someone who tries, you can still stand up again and fight. It's a trait that no one can take away from you. I learned here that even if this trait is well planned by God, it is our responsibility and choice to improve the things we think we lack of. That we can't always wait and depend on God's perfect timing. Again, because if you wait, the present opportunities and chances will pass and you might never have it again in the future. There will be a lot of things you will miss because you have a low self-esteem. And there will be a lot of things you want to do but didn't do because you overthink that you couldn't. That everyone will judge you and laugh at you for doing what you like. But as I grow older, people's criticisms and judgments and bad remarks does not matter anymore. Because as what people say, whether you please people or do your own thing, there's always something they can say about it. And you can change them. You can force to shut them up. Unless you keep doing what you want, it is then that they'll realize their bad actions towards you. And maybe then they will stop focusing on you and start giving attention to themselves and their projection of insecurities instead. That is all for my final reflections. Thank you.